guys, I'm so glad that you decided to come back for another Bachelorette recap. I'm so excited to get into this episode with you guys. So let's jump right in and talk about everything that went on in episode number 8. Every season that I've ever seen of either The Bachelor or The Bachelorette, this is the episode that I look forward to the most. Getting to see people in their hometowns, in their own element around their family and friends is just so interesting. So I was waiting for this episode. Rachel goes and meets Eric in his hometown of Baltimore. They have a cute little one-on-one game. His cousin stops by at the basketball court. They hug it out. They chat it up a little bit. And then Rachel and Eric sit down and have a really nice heart-to-heart about Eric's upbringing. So Eric was born and raised in Baltimore, and he saw it all. The drugs, the gangs, the violence. His own family members were very much a part of that lifestyle. And he said to Rachel that because he saw all of that growing up, he promised himself that he would not be one of those people. And he made a promise to himself to move his life in a different direction. I personally really fell in love with Eric that much more during this conversation he had with Rachel, because to me at no point did he ever come across as feeling sorry for himself, that his upbringing was kind of rough, and he just kind of looked at it in the most positive way possible. He talked about how he always tried to help as many of his friends and family as he could that he saw getting caught up in the lifestyle and getting dragged down. When he needed help, no one was really around to do that for him, but it was kind of okay because in a way he feels like it's his calling to help others. Hence, probably why he is a personal trainer, helping other people get in shape, lose weight, change their lives. So I really loved how he was not only open to talking to Rachel about some of the not so bright and shiny aspects of his childhood, but he didn't talk about it in a very victim type of way, feel sorry for me, isn't it so sad that this happened to me kind of way. He's overcome it. He's an adult now, living a wonderful adult, productive life. And I really, really liked Eric a whole lot more after this hometown date. So after basketball, Rachel and Eric go to meet his family, and they're all sitting in the living room waiting for the two of them to come through the door, and the reception is just so sweet. They're so excited. Everybody is dressed in their Sunday best. They all look like they're going to church. They welcome Rachel with open arms, very warm, very inviting. I loved it. Rachel then sits down with one of Eric's aunts, Verna. Go ahead, Verna, with the Halle Berry pixie cut. I see you, I see you. So she talks to her and they have a cute little interaction. Of course, talking all about Eric and how ready is he for commitment and marriage and a future life together and all that. Then you see Eric have a sit down with his mom, and his mom said something so powerful that made me kind of understand a little bit about why some mothers and sons have the relationship that they do. And she talked about the fact that she knows Eric feels some type of way about her, maybe not coddling him more, giving him more love and affection growing up. Because she said, the men in our family could have been so much greater than they turned out to be, but they were too busy hiding behind their mothers. And she told Eric straight up, I didn't want that for you. I wanted you to be a man, learn how to be a man, live like a man. And that's why I treated you the way that I did. And I get it, I understand that. You know, there are a whole lot of mama's boys out there in the world that just can't do anything, make any decisions without mommy's approval. So they had a really sweet talk. I really love his mom. His mom was beat, face looking beautiful, hair beautiful. Then Rachel and Eric's mom sit down and have a chat, and his mom asks Rachel, what is it about Eric that you like? And Rachel says, he challenges me. He does challenge her. He absolutely touches certain parts of her that the other guys don't. He's definitely opened up a part of her, a side of her that the other guys really haven't seen. And maybe that's because of his upbringing, the fact that he is Black. They do have that connection. And I can see how Rachel enjoys having that challenging interaction with Eric. Then you see Eric have a little quick chat with his father. And I thought it was so cute. At one point, his father teared up when they were talking about Eric's upbringing, and his father told him how bad he felt about some of the things Eric had to see and experience. But he's very proud of Eric, that he's turned out to be the man that he is, and I thought that was such a sweet moment that they had. One thing I didn't really understand, when Eric and Rachel were saying their goodbyes and she was getting in the car, what was with that growling? He reminded me of, what's his name? Old boy from the first episode? Marlon, Milton, whatever the hell his name was. No, Eric, don't growl. You see what happened to old boy. He got kicked out day one. Next stop is Miami, to Bryan's hometown. And I noticed when she greeted Bryan that there was a pattern forming here. All four guys she ended up jumping on top of when she greeted them in their hometowns, which was quite interesting. But Senor Bryan, he got a little extra something with his greeting.
Hi, baby. Hi, baby. Hi, baby.
Okay, Rachel, so it's baby now. Okay. So they're in Calle Ocho playing dominoes. They're sitting around with some old guys who are apparently experts at dominoes. So clearly this is not a real game, because I have seen people play dominoes. Both of my parents come from Caribbean countries and they don't play around with dominoes. So clearly that was just some fake game set up for the cameras. They weren't playing for real, because if they were playing for real, it would have been serious. They ate some arepas, which I am very familiar with because my husband is from Venezuela. So we eat that shit all the time in this house. But during that little chit chat that him and Rachel had before going off to meet his family, he did reveal that he's an only child, which I wasn't aware of. And that may explain a lot of things. So Rachel comes to the home, she's greeted by Bryan's family, and she gets to finally meet his mom, Olga. Rachel and Bryan's mom sit down and have a little chit chat, and she is very sweet. Of course, last week's episode, the preview made it seem like she was gonna be this tyrant, overbearing, overprotective mother, and she absolutely did let Rachel know Bryan is her baby, and she said that wasn't a mistake from the edit at the end of last week's episode. She did say, if he's happy, I'm happy. If he's not happy, I'll kill you. She absolutely did say that to Rachel, but I would expect that from any mother that has a very, very close relationship with their son. Another woman coming into the picture and taking their baby boy away from them is not an easy thing to deal with. But to me, she came off very sweet, not overbearing or disrespectful or controlling in any way. Then it happens. The end of the night, Bryan walks Rachel out. She's about to get in the car and drive away to meet the next guy. And they sit down outside the house just before she gets in the car, and he tells her he's in love with her. He put it all out there. He let her know he couldn't wait one more day for her not to know what his true feelings are. And I feel like he's been wanting to say that for quite some time. Rachel doesn't say it back, at least from what the producers would have us believe. If she did, it was edited out. I am really focused on that issue because another guy, another one of the four, also tells her that he's falling in love with her, and she says it back to him. Not Bryan, she says it to another one of the guys, but we'll get to that later. Come through Midwest, come through Wisconsin, we're off to see Peter in his hometown. After Rachel and Peter greet each other, they go off on a cute little walk through town. He's showing her some of the places and explaining to her different things that he likes to do. And they stop off in this little market area and he buys her a plant. The plant's name is a bleeding heart. I forget if it was Peter or Rachel, one of the two of them said how fitting or something to that effect. And I thought, really? Who is going to be the two of you having a bleeding heart at the end of this? So Rachel and Peter, they go into this cute little restaurant, bar type of place. They sit down and wait for Peter's friends to come in. Peter's friends come in and guess what? Some of them are black. I actually have to be honest and say when he told Rachel that he had never dated a black woman before, I was surprised because Peter definitely gives me those chocolate fever vibes. He seems to be the type of white guy that I would not be surprised if he popped up one day with a black girlfriend or he's dated black women before in the past. Then after they have a little get together with his friends, they go back to Peter's family's home and everybody's there waiting to meet Rachel. So Rachel gets to meet Peter's mother, father, his brother, his sister-in-law, his brother's wife, and their two really, really cute kids. And did you guys check that welcome Rachel sign that they had in their house? How sweet was that? So Rachel has a little sit down heart to heart with the sister-in-law and also his mother. And throughout both of those conversations, she drives the point home that she is not looking for a boyfriend. And there was pretty much a distinctive string, a thread throughout this whole episode of Rachel being very, very adamant about walking away with a proposal and a fiance at the end of all this. And Peter's mother let Rachel know that he may not be ready for that. He may be ready to make a commitment to her for a long, prosperous future together, but not necessarily the proposal that she absolutely wants. She said the words, "I do not want a boyfriend." That's not what she's after. She wants that ring. So now we go to my Deanie boys' hometown of Aspen, Colorado. Rachel and Dean hook up in Aspen. They go riding around on some ATVs, have a little bit of fun before going over to his father's house. So just before Rachel and Dean leave to go to Dean's father's home, Dean lets Rachel know exactly who's gonna be there and who from his family she's gonna meet. So Dean tells her, "You're gonna meet my two brothers, one of my brother's girlfriends, my sister, and my father will also be there, and my stepmother." And just to let you know, my father's name is Paramrup, and my stepmother's name is Santartar. So apparently Dean's father 6 years ago converted to being a Kundalini Sikh, and everything that goes along with that. The way that he dresses, how he worships, how he lives his everyday life is all about that. So Rachel and Dean walk into the house and immediately everybody's sitting on the floor. There's pillows all around. Dean even asks, "Where's the table?" Everybody greets Rachel and then they all sit down on the ground and have a little chit chat. And a very sweet moment happened where Dean's father actually presented Rachel and Dean with feathers to represent Dean's mother that had passed away when he was 15. He got teary-eyed. He got really, really emotional. Dean's father got extremely emotional, and I felt it. I felt how much that man loved that woman and how devastated he really must have been over her death. So finally, the moment that we've all been waiting for, that was very much hyped up at the end of last week's episode, Dean and his father have a sit down. And might I add, Dean's father looked quite sharp with his matching headgear and robe. Purple looks fantastic on him. So they have a little sit down chit chat, and it didn't go well at all, as I would have expected. Ever since Dean was 15, the relationship has been on a decline. So the whole conversation just was a bunch of back and forth that didn't really resolve anything. All Dean's father wanted from Dean was him to get over the past, pretty much, stop dwelling on it and talking about it, and all Dean wanted was his father to admit that he dropped the ball after his mother passed away and he wasn't the father that Dean needed him to be. Then, some drama. Rachel goes outside and politely asks his father, "Can I talk to you?" The man says, "If you must." So I knew where this conversation was going. So Rachel's talking to him, he tries to respond, and he turns his head and he sees the camera off to the side and he says, "I'm done." He gets up, walks away from Rachel, "I'm done." He tells her, "I'm sure you're a very nice girl and I wish the best for you and my son, but I'm done." I'm not quite sure why he was upset about the conversation with Rachel being filmed. Maybe because he didn't necessarily want to hear Rachel's opinion of his relationship with Dean. You know how outsiders that have nothing to do with the situation always have to put their 2 cents in. I don't know if Rachel was going to do that. Maybe that's what he was afraid of. Who knows? Then we go to a really sweet little interlude with Dean and Rachel. They're lying down inside the house and Dean is fighting back tears. He has his hand over his face and he's fighting back tears. He wants to cry. And they're chit-chatting and Dean just comes out and tells Rachel, "I'm falling in love with you." Just like Bryan. Technically, Bryan said, "I am in love with you," but let's just call it the same for now. Rachel responds and says, "I'm falling in love with you too," which I found very interesting because she had nothing to say to Bryan when he said it to her, which leads me to believe that that was edited out because of all the hotness, passion, sexual connection her and Bryan have had. Producers didn't want the viewers to see her melting all over him, all over Bryan, when he told her that he was in love with her, and they conveniently edited out her saying it back to him, but left it in with Dean. And they left it in with Dean just to make the burn a little bit more severe, because Dean ends up being the one eliminated at the rose ceremony. And of course, my poor heartbroken Dean, he's in the car talking about how could Rachel tell me that she was falling in love with me and let me go. But I might add, did you see that walkout of the room? Dean in that suit with that bow tie. Dean will have no problem finding a woman. I also have to add in, whoever's watching this video that is part of the styling crew, hair, makeup, and styling crew, behind the scenes at the Bachelorette. I know it's too late now for Rachel, but for the next Bachelorette, can we do something about these lashes? Rachel's lashes have been getting on my nerves for quite a few episodes now. I've held my tongue, but her makeup and her skin and her hair is so gorgeous. A+ on point. Those lashes, I don't know. So now we're down to 3, Bryan, Peter, and Eric. My prediction for next week's episode is Peter is the next to be eliminated. I don't want to say that, I don't like saying it, but because this week's episode was so heavily focused on Rachel going on and on about not wanting a boyfriend, not wanting to date, She wants that ring at the end of this, and Peter is not going to give it to her. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this recap. Please give me a thumbs up if you did, and subscribe and come back next week for episode 9. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.